Just days before the new season was set to begin, something unexpected sent shockwaves across the basketball world. An announcement, a statement. And suddenly, questions started flooding in from every direction. Was this just a routine update? Or something much bigger? Because when the Indiana Fever leadership spoke, fans immediately connected it to one name, Caitlin Clark. And that's when the panic started. Social media exploded. Analysts started debating. And fans couldn't stop asking one terrifying question. Is Caitlin Clark already in trouble before the season even begins? Some believe this is just a misunderstanding. Others think it reveals deeper issues inside the organization. And a few are convinced this could change everything for her future in the league. But what really happened? What did the Fever president actually say? And why did it create so much tension? Today, we break down the full story, the hidden meaning behind the announcement, and why this moment has everyone questioning what comes next as the new WNBA season approached. Expectations around Caitlin Clark were already at an all-time high. After her explosive entry into professional basketball, every move she made was being analyzed, discussed, and debated across media platforms. But just when things seemed focused purely on performance and development, an unexpected shift happened. An official statement from the Indiana Fever leadership began circulating. At first, it didn't seem dramatic. It appeared like one of many routine preseason discussions about team structure, expectations, and goals. However, the timing and tone of the message quickly caught attention. Fans and analysts started dissecting every word. In high-profile sports environments, even neutral statements can take on new meaning when linked to a superstar player. And that's exactly what happened here. The Fever organization, like many teams entering a new season, emphasized discipline, system fit, and collective identity. They talked about building a team-first mentality, proving defensive consistency, and ensuring every player understands their role within the system. On paper, that sounds standard, but when a team has a player like Caitlin Clark known for her high-usage creative and fast-paced offensive style, those words suddenly feel more targeted. That's where the speculation began. Was this message directed at her? Was the team hinting at a change in how she would be used? Or was this simply a general statement that fans were over-analyzing? As discussions grew, media outlets started framing the narrative in different ways. Some suggested that the Fever wanted to reduce reliance on one player and build a more balanced approach. Others argued that this is a natural evolution for any team with a rising star, moving from individual brilliance to structured team success. But for fans, the concern was immediate. Because whenever you hear phrases like adjustment, system fit, or role definition connected to a superstar, it raises one big question. Is something wrong behind the scenes? And that question became the foundation of the entire narrative. The idea that Clark might need to change her game more, that the team might change how they use her created tension in how people interpreted the situation. Supporters believed she should remain the focal point of the offense. Critics argued that adapting to a system is necessary for long-term success. And right in the middle of that debate stood the Fever organization, trying to prepare for a season that suddenly carried far more attention than expected. As the story continued gaining momentum, social media played a massive role in amplifying every angle of the discussion. Clips from interviews were reposted, quotes were taken out of context. Headlines became more dramatic, and slowly, a routine announcement started transforming into a full-blown controversy. The biggest reason for this shift was simple. Caitlin Clark is no longer just a player. She is a global sports conversation. Every statement connected to her carries weight, whether intentional or not. And that's what made this situation so intense. Fans began forming two clear sides. One side believed the Fever were trying to protect their system and avoid over-reliance on a single player. They saw the announcement as a positive step toward team development. The other side believed the message hinted at limitations being placed on Clark's natural style, something they felt could reduce her impact. That divide fueled engagement. Debates spread across platforms. Analysts broke down possible scenarios. And suddenly, what started as a simple organizational message became a trending topic. Meanwhile, within basketball circles, a more grounded perspective started to emerge. Experts pointed out that every young star goes through this phase. Early success often comes with freedom and high usage. But as teams grow and evolve, structure becomes more important. Roles become more defined. And players are expected to adapt. This isn't a punishment, it's progression. But for fans, especially those emotionally invested, it can feel like restriction. That emotional reaction is what drives viral narratives, because perception often moves faster than reality. And in this case, perception was moving extremely fast. Some even started questioning whether this situation could impact Clark's confidence, her role, or even her long-term future with the team. And that's where the most extreme version of the narrative appeared. Is she done? Not because of performance, but because of fit. A question that sounds dramatic, but is built on layers of misunderstanding, speculation, and incomplete information. As the noise around the announcement kept growing, the conversation slowly moved from public statements to something deeper: pressure. Because behind every headline, every debate, and every viral clip, there is a reality most fans don't fully see. And that reality is what happens inside a team environment when expectations explode overnight. For Caitlin Clark, this wasn't just another season. This was the moment where hype turns into responsibility. Every possession would now be judged differently. Every decision would be analyzed. And every performance would carry a narrative far bigger than the scoreboard. That kind of pressure doesn't just come from opponents. It comes from everywhere: media, fans, analysts, even internal expectations. And when a team like the Indiana Fever publicly emphasizes structure and discipline, it adds another layer to that pressure, because now it's not just about performing, it's about performing within a system that might require changes. This is where the real tension begins. Not conflict, but adjustment. Elite players are used to controlling the game. They're used to having the ball, setting the pace, and making decisions freely. But as teams evolve, freedom often turns into responsibility. That means fewer risky plays, more structured possessions, smarter shot selection, controlled tempo, and for a player known for pushing limits, that adjustment can feel restrictive even if it's necessary. This is something every great player experiences at some point. The transition from play your game to fit the system. Some adapt instantly, others take time. But in Clark's case, the challenge is amplified by visibility. Every adjustment she makes will be noticed. If she takes fewer deep shots, people will question it. If she passes, more people will analyze it. If her scoring drops even slightly, it becomes a headline. That's the reality of being at the center of the basketball world. And this is where narratives like "she's done" start to grow. Not because of actual decline, but because of perceived change. Fans are used to a certain version of a player. When that version shifts, even for strategic reasons, it can feel like something is wrong. But inside teams, those changes are often planned. Coaches look at long-term success, not short-term highlights. They build systems that can win consistently, not just entertain. And sometimes that means asking star players to evolve. That's not a negative, it's growth. But growth under a spotlight looks very different, because every step forward can be misinterpreted. It's a step back. And that's exactly what's happening here. The announcement didn't signal the end of anything. It signaled a transition, a shift from individual dominance to structured leadership, from highlight-driven play to system-driven impact. And for fans, that shift is hard to process in real time, because it doesn't always look exciting, but it's necessary. As the conversation finally began to settle, a clearer picture started to form, not from headlines, not from viral clips, but from understanding how elite basketball systems actually work. Because when you remove the noise, the situation becomes much simpler. The Indiana Fever are not trying to limit Caitlin Clark. They are trying to build around her. But building around a player doesn't always mean giving them complete freedom. It means creating a system where their strengths can shine without becoming predictable. That's the difference. Predictability is what defenses attack. Balance is what teams need to win. And this is where the real meaning of the announcement comes into focus. It wasn't about reducing her impact. It was about maximizing it. It's in a sustainable way. Because in professional basketball, especially at the highest level, success isn't built on one season. It's built on consistency, on adaptability, on evolution. And that's what the Fever are aiming for. They're not preparing for one moment. They're preparing for a future where Clark is not just a star, but a complete system leader. And that requires change, not drastic change, but smart, strategic adjustment, the kind that turns great players into championship-level leaders. But here's the problem. That process doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't create viral highlights. It doesn't generate instant excitement. Instead, it creates subtle improvements that build over time, and in today's fast-paced media environment, subtlety often gets lost. That's why narratives like "Is she done?" gain traction, because they're simple, emotional, easy to understand. But they're not accurate because, if anything, this moment proves the opposite. It proves that Clark is important enough for the entire system to adjust around her. It proves that every decision involving her is carefully considered. It proves that her presence is shaping the future direction of the team. And that's not what happens to players who are done. That's what happens to players who are just getting started. So what do you think really happened here? Was this just a normal team adjustment that got blown out of proportion? Or does it reveal something deeper about how teams handle rising superstars? One thing is clear: Caitlin Clark isn't going anywhere. If anything, this moment shows just how important she is to the future of the Indiana Fever and the WNBA as a whole. But now it's your turn to decide. Is this the start of something bigger? Or just a misunderstanding that went viral? Comment your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more deep basketball stories. Follow for more at Hoops Breakdown, at WNBA INSIDER, at Court Vision Daily. Hashtags: hashtag Caitlin Clark, number WNBA, hashtag Indiana Fever, hashtag basketball, hashtag WNBA 22-6, hashtag sports news, hashtag Clark effect, hashtag basketball analysis, hashtag hoops, hashtag viral sports.